Remote, beautiful, mysterious, unique. Islands are worlds of their own. Places apart where life has evolved differently. But in our modern interconnected world, islands are also part of a global community that's changing, for better or worse. In this series, we're exploring the lives of islanders. We're discovering that no matter how distant they are from the mainland, how distinctive their histories, or how proud they are of their independence, islands can't separate their futures from the fate of humanity as a whole. In so many ways, these shores are the front line of global change. What happens here matters to us all. Amid the vast expanse of the South Pacific, isolated by the endless blue, is the Republic of Fiji. 322 islands forged in the heat of volcanoes. Rugged mountains fringed by sandy shores. Behind the shelter of its coral reefs, Fiji nurtured a vibrant and unique way of life. Over the centuries, it grew to be a powerful and proud culture. Notorious amongst early European explorers for its ferocious cannibals and mighty warriors. When the British imposed their rule, they brought Western ways and Christianity. They also brought waves of immigrants to farm fertile fields of sugarcane. Indian laborers, whose presence here was a trigger for conflict and violence. Today, an uneasy peace reigns. The new and old ways sit side by side. And the latest arrivals are tourists for whom Fiji's islands are a tropical paradise. But new waves of change are looming. They're threatening to turn this idyll from playground to battleground. Sometimes the danger is all too obvious. But for those who know where to look, the effects can also be seen in the depths of the forests and beneath Fiji's blue lagoons. Sea temperatures are rising, coral reefs are dying, and the natural breakwater that protects Fiji's shoreline is being washed away. It's islanders who are on the front line of the fight to restore the balance. Strong and resilient, they also know how to nurture and heal. Now they are drawing on both sides of their nature to face the tests the world is throwing at them. Will it be enough to keep this paradise sunny in the teeth of the gathering storm? Today, Most of Fiji's 1 million population lives on the big island of Viti Levu. The capital, Suva, and a dozen other towns pulse to an urban beat. But outside the cities, life is organized along traditional lines. Head a few kilometers off the southern shore of Viti Levu to the island of Benga, and the importance of the old ways is clear to see. Here, ancient rituals evoke a pre-contact, pre-Christian world. Distanced from the mainland, life moves at its own pace on Benga. Underpinning this modern-looking village is a unique way of life, where ancient traditions still survive. Villagers live as a collective, sharing the work and the wealth amongst themselves. They are led by this man, Tui Sau.
It is good to have a chiefly leadership in the village. It allows us to look after the village and, more importantly, the welfare of our villagers.
Today, Tui has ordered the villagers to prepare for an incredible ritual, which proves the power of the old tribal ways. They fire up the lovo, or ground oven, for a celebratory feast. Every family has a specific role to play. But the ritual preparing of the feast isn't just about nourishing the body. It's one of the ways in which village children are taught to respect their tribal traditions. For Tui Sau, it's crucial to ensuring the old ways survive.
It's important to teach them the right protocols, how to behave, and the different roles they must adopt in the village.
But across the ocean, winds of change are blowing towards Benga.
I think the Western way of living in Suva has a negative effect on our lives. It's easier to look after the village when there is one way of life and everyone is united.
One custom that Tui Sau is determined to safeguard is Vila Vila Irevo, or literally, jumping into the oven. We know it as firewalking.
Firewalking has been around for as long as Benga itself. Our fathers and their forefathers have been firewalking all of their lives, and now we firewalk also.
Firewalking is just for men, but everyone's involved in weeks of preparations. For the performers, getting ready for the ritual requires certain personal sacrifices.
There are a few taboos. The most important is that the firewalkers must not sleep with their wives for 4 nights beforehand, and they can't eat coconut or burnt foods either.
Before the firewalking, a ceremonial meke evokes the Sau tribal spirit. Warriors brandishing old war clubs reenact the battles of village ancestors. For centuries, these meke have been used to keep the past alive, and even to predict the future. The priest starts the ritual, calling the firewalkers to prepare the flaming pit. It's vital everyone follows instructions.
If someone breaks the rules or taboos, they will get burnt. They can be bedridden for 4 months and must be nursed at home until the burns heal.
Finally, the pit is ready. One by one, the Sawu tribesmen brave the scorching heat to walk in the footsteps of their ancestors. They finish unscathed, the honor of the tribe upheld. But Tuisaru knows the isolation of the island can only protect its people for so long. Dark clouds are gathering on Benga's horizon. Change is coming that even the firewalkers and their prophetic rituals cannot foresee. It won't be the first time waves of unexpected change have washed over these islands. Less than 200 years ago, Fiji was a cannibal society. Tribal warfare was commonplace. Eating your enemy was the ultimate revenge. Christian missionaries from Europe set out to rid the islands of cannibalism. In 1867, Thomas Baker, an ambitious young minister, would pay the ultimate price. Declared an enemy, Baker was offered up as a sacrifice to the tribal war god. Then slaughtered, cooked, and eaten. But Baker's sacrifice was not in vain. Violent Pacific traditions were tamed by Christianity. And today Fijian Christians regard the old days as Naguana ni Tevoro, the time of the devil.
When Christianity came to Fiji, the missionaries were eaten. But people have seen the power of God and the gospel. It has taken away cannibalism and warfare.
Asanatha Vikana is a Sunday school teacher in Nialwa village in the north of Fiji's main island, Viti Levu. She's one of some 280,000 Methodists in Fiji. She's also the local chief's wife and must integrate her faith with the indigenous customs that are still central to village life.
Read your Bible, pray every day, and you grow.
Christianity came to Fiji as a foreign religion and had to deal with the traditions and the people it found here.
Read your Bible, pray every day.
Images like this Black Christ are attempts to show that the Son of God came for people of all races. The missionaries reached out and succeeded in convincing Fijians. So much so that today Fiji is a sort of Pacific Islands Bible Belt. Although the days of tribal warfare are behind them, the villagers still have a tribal approach to worship. Christianity here is a real communal event.
God has given us love for one another within our community. That's why our village is united.
Also uniting the village is Asanatha herself. As the chief's wife, she shares his responsibility for the community's well-being.
I am the mother of the village. If someone is hungry, it is my job to give them food. If someone comes crying, if there is a problem, it's my responsibility to provide them with what they need.
In 2004, that responsibility inspired Asanatha to dream of big changes. Realizing Nilewa's children had no access to nursery school, Asanatha started the region's very first kindergarten.
It's important for the children to have an education. Education can bring about change in our village.
Now, there's a network of kindergartens in the surrounding villages. Throughout her campaign, it's been Asanatha's faith that sustained her. But the new faith and the old ways don't always go harmoniously together. Echoing around the National Stadium is a voice from Fiji's ancestral past. The Thimbi is an ancient war chant. These days it sends the Fijian rugby team into battle.
The words mean, we have our shields and our spears, and we're going into battle. We're telling our opponents, we'll take you down.
Now the Thimbi has become a rallying cry for ancient customs threatened for being unchristian.
Our elders have been dancing the Thimbi since their time, and now we're doing it. It's been passed down to us.
Sireli Nakalavuki performed the Thimbi in over 20 matches.
The Thimbi makes you feel strong as you prepare for battle. It psychs you up, ready for the game.
But some church authorities didn't see it that way. In 2009, they declared the old war chant ungodly. With the support of the team pastor, they demanded a ban. Under heavy pressure, the team broke a 70-year tradition. They dropped the Thimbi ahead of a big international game. Whether or not they angered their old gods, the team were badly defeated. For rugby fans across Fiji, this was the cue to tackle the authorities head-on. They stood up in support of the old ritual and its place in the much-loved national game. Like Christianity, rugby was brought here by Europeans, and it's been passionately embraced.
Rugby is slowly becoming a religion in Fiji. There's a lot of support and encouragement for rugby in the villages.
It's one of Fiji's best-known exports and a matter of great national pride.
Before I play a match, my parents urge and encourage me. Go and show the world that you are a good rugby player and bring success to Fiji.
Eventually, those calling for the return of the Thimbe were heard. The rugby union stood up to the Christian objectors and reinstated the old war chant. Before each game, its battle cries echo once more, carrying Fiji's pride in its tribal past around the world. But while the team represent their nation with pride, the future of their island looks dangerously uncertain. Tides of change are threatening to wash away the land which inspires such patriotism. Fiji and the whole world is feeling the effects of climate change. A big factor on the island is the El Niño weather pattern. When warm sea currents and trade winds weaken or change direction off the South American coast, El Niño can cause dramatic variations in weather. In Fiji, it's happening more and more frequently. Extreme droughts and severe storms ravage the land. Beneath the waves, the destruction continues. Warming seas are killing the algae that sustain the great coral reefs. It's these reefs that stand between the tempest of the Pacific and Fiji's vulnerable coastline. Without them, islanders can only watch as high tide threatens to engulf their homes. Graves that once lay under coconut trees now lie under the waves. History is being washed away. "90% of Fiji's population live along the coast. Many are wondering if it's time to head for the hills. When Britain colonized Fiji's vulnerable coastline, without them, islanders can only watch as high tide threatens to engulf their homes. Graves that once lay under coconut trees now lie under the waves. History is being washed away. "90% of Fiji's population live along the coast. Many are wondering if it's time to head for the hills. When Britain colonized Fiji in the late 19th century, reliable sunshine and predictable rains meant that they could farm sugarcane on a massive scale. Sugar became the cornerstone of Fiji's economy. A new Pacific industry was born. Now, 4 million tons of sugarcane are produced every year. But not everyone enjoyed the riches that sugarcane brought. To harvest their wealth, the British needed more hands. Over 60,000 Indians were shipped to Fiji as indentured laborers.
We were brought here from India to work on farms, on sugar plantations. They brought us here in ships. Some died on the ship, and they were thrown into the water.
With the sweat of Indian labor, the sugar industry flourished. By the time indentured labor was abolished in 1916, the immigrants had built homes, schools, and futures. Few could afford to return to India, even if they wanted to. Today, Indo-Fijians make up some 40% of the island's population. Lal Philip is one of them. Descended from the original Indian laborers, Lal now farms his own small plot of sugarcane. Although fifth-generation Indo-Fijians, the family still value their Indian heritage. Their Indian spirituality has taken root in their adopted homeland. This Hindu temple, the largest in the southern hemisphere, attracts hundreds for daily worship. Its presence signifies the part Indo-Fijians now play in the life of the island. Inside, the devoted worship Lord Murugan, the guardian deity of the seasonal rains. But is he hearing their prayers?
1996-97 was a very dry season. The cattle started to die and food was scarce. It was very difficult. We thought that we might not survive the drought. So many of our cattle died.
The drought of 1997 was no exception. Records show that over the past 20 years, Fiji has been more drought-prone than ever before.
It used to rain in December, January, February. Now we don't see rain, and it's too dry. Without rain, the sugarcane doesn't grow well, and the crop yield decreases day by day. The country is facing hard times.
But for farmers like Lal, it's not just the weather that could ruin the harvest. "30 years of political instability have rocked this island republic. The conflict stems from ethnic tensions between indigenous and Indian Fijians. In the past, those resenting the Indian presence took matters into their own hands. Blood was spilt on both sides. Fueled by these tensions, 4 governments were overthrown. Thousands of Indo-Fijians fled Fiji, but leaving wasn't an option for Lal.
I'm an Indo-Fijian. My blood is mixed. If we're born in Fiji, then we are Indo-Fijian.
Today, an uneasy peace reigns in politics. But the battle to protect these islands from the El Niño effect goes on. Droughts aren't the only problem. Extreme storms also threaten livelihoods. Satendra Philip is another member of Lal's family. He harvests his crop from the sea.
We used to have good weather, but now it's very unpredictable. With no warning, the sea can get very rough. All sorts of changes are happening.
Even on a beautiful day, beneath the calm ocean surface, there are dangerous currents of change. Powered by El Niño, they bring unseasonably violent weather. Fishermen like Satendra are caught in the eye of the storm.
Once I forgot my radio at home. When I was out at sea, another boat warned that a hurricane was coming, so we took shelter on a nearby island. It was a very frightening experience, and we thought a lot about our families. My boat was damaged. It was one of the most difficult moments I've ever faced.
Big storms are also bad news for fish stocks. Powerful waves can damage the coral reefs. Without these reefs for food and protection, fish are disappearing. Outside the cities, half of all households depend on fishing. The changes in weather threaten their whole way of life. Their children face an uncertain future. If the extreme weather continues, it's not just the farmers and fishermen that will be affected. So too will Fiji's tourist industry. Each year, 500,000 visitors arrive looking for their own castaway paradise. Romance, adventure, culture. Fiji has it all. Today, the island boasts one of the most popular surfing swells in the world. But as the El Niño effect continues, even the bravest will struggle to ride out the storm. Inland, there's a different landscape at risk. Fiji's mountainous interior is an unspoiled Eden. Imposing cliffs conceal rare orchids. Tropical rainforests hide a lush diversity of life. Yet even Fiji's heartland is at risk from the El Niño effect. An increase in extreme weather is causing vast landslides and devastating floods. Hidden in the remote Nasori highlands is a village lost in time. Navala is a Fijian village in the most traditional sense. With no mains electricity, life goes on much the same as it did hundreds of years ago. Everybody works together for the good of the community. Homes are built, children are taught, and the sick are treated at no cost to the individual. But the effects of climate change are threatening this utopian idyll. Mili Sura is medicine woman to more than 500 villagers. She comes from a long line of traditional healers. Millie believes healing is in her blood. and ancient laws govern its use.
I keep my knowledge of medicine making a secret. I can't tell anyone else because if I make this knowledge public, it can reduce the effects of the medicine.
Millie sees her patients every day, and their complaints are seasonal.
In this current weather, we mostly have cases of toothache and people suffering from colds or intestinal pain.
This patient has an abscess. Using herbal remedies, Millie can offer pain relief and a natural antiseptic. For ingredients, she's totally dependent on the huge natural pharmacy on her doorstep.
You have to walk far to reach some medicines, while others grow in hard-to-reach places like on cliffs or the top of a mountain. The harder it is to find, the better the healing power of the medicine.
These days, Millie's remedies are in great demand.
The change in weather brings with it numerous infections. At times like this, lots of people come to ask me for medicine.
People here have come to understand how the plants and herbs which grow around them can keep their families healthy. In Millie's hands, this wisdom can be released to heal a new generation.
Take a mango tree, for instance. It can be used in lots of ways. It can be scraped and mixed with hot water and salt for gargling. And it can also be drunk to treat diarrhea.
Diarrhea can be a killer in this village, particularly to the very young. It's crucial that Millie is able to find the right plants at the right time to treat it. But the changes in Fiji's climate are putting Millie's natural pharmacy in danger. She has to walk further and further to find the plants she needs. Millie is worried that one day they won't grow at all.
It's been very dry and windy. It hasn't rained for a while now. Many plants and trees thrive in wet conditions, and too much heat can destroy some medicinal plants.
The whole island seems to be sending a message that the balance of life here is changing. Since the dawn of time, it's the sea that has kept the equilibrium. As powerful waves sculpted the landscape, life on Fiji evolved in sync with the swell. But the tide is turning. The sea surrounding the islands is warming, killing the fragile ecosystem beneath. It's a symptom of global warming that the islanders must address, or suffer the effects. Panapasa Namali is on a mission to restore the balance of life in Fiji's waters. He's taking a hands-on approach to fulfilling the responsibility passed down to him by his tribe.
I'm one of those who are called the Fishmen. I was chosen by the Nakalevu, the High Chief of Nadroga. Our relationship with the sea began with our forefathers, and I inherit that today.
As part of that legacy, Panapasa is trying to halt the damage that's going on beneath the waves, starting with the coral reefs. These reefs shield the island by absorbing the force of the powerful Pacific waves.
The reef is very important to us. I'm witness to this. During bad weather like cyclones and tsunamis, the reefs protect us from the effects.
The reef is also home to many species of fish. Feeding on the coral, some fish produce and excrete tons of sand, which is key to replenishing Fiji's shoreline. But this delicate ecosystem is being washed away. Under the heat stress of warming seas, Fiji's coral reefs are dying. In some parts of the Pacific, 80% of living reefs have been lost. Without coral to feed on, fish are disappearing. And without fish to replenish them, Fiji's beaches are washing away. For Panapasa, the solution is clear.
The relationship between the fish and the sea needs to be revived. We need to restore life to the waters.
One way to bring back the balance is to restore the coral reefs. On the island of Motoriki, villagers are doing just that. They've started to farm coral on a scale that could make a difference. Using artificial trays to grow cuttings of wild coral, they hope to bring their reef back to life. In just 12 months, these tiny cuttings will have doubled in size. The adult corals will then be replanted onto dying reefs, bringing them blossoming back to health. By renewing the reefs, these islanders are helping build a sustainable future for Fiji. One that could make a global impact.
I believe that if we keep making efforts to give back, to renew our water and our seas, our corals and our fish, our efforts will become known all over the world. Everything you see here, I have faith in and believe in.
Though it's too early to see long-term results, the signs are promising. The islanders have started the fight back against climate change in Fiji. Islands are special places. Fiji's islands amongst the most distinctive of them all. The postcard island paradise. This is the beauty that has carried Fiji's name far and wide. But if this was once a place where time stood still, now the islands are in their 11th hour. The isolation that preserved their ancient rituals no longer provides sanctuary. Fiji's children are taught to respect traditions passed down from their fathers and to learn from the care lavished on them by their mothers. These are children who can still enjoy their season in the sun. But as they grow, they'll tackle challenges no other generation has had to face. Not only must they learn to live with their divided past, they must build their future in a changing world and protect their islands in all their fragile beauty. Facing new horizons, Fiji's children must adapt, even as they hold fast to the strengths their island legacy has given them. In a changing world, we all have lessons to learn from Fiji. Remote, beautiful, mysterious, unique. Islands are worlds of their own. Places apart where life has evolved differently. But in our modern interconnected world, islands are also part of a global community that's changing, for better or worse. In this series, we're exploring the lives of islanders. We're discovering that no matter how distant they are from the mainland, how distinctive their histories, or how proud they are of their independence, islands can't separate their futures from the fate of humanity as a whole.